What will the attitude of the Klan be if militant Negro civil rights demonstrators come into the South in big numbers this summer?
As I have constantly said, we are not an organization that is advocating.
One, two, three. 1, 2, 3, 4.
On the way, please. Yeah, on the way. Look clear.
Oh, it's gonna, here's this.
Hey, cut it out. Give him a gear!
We're standing outside a bus witnessing one of the most brutal acts I've ever seen.
Don't let him over here. You're taking him, but don't take out.
We're not taking it.
All right, just don't take out. I got you.
No way with it.
Don't take out.
Back on that. That's the one I told you. I got it. Who is it? I don't know. I told you about right there.
Hey.
See it? 1, 2, 3, 4. You know who he is.
Back up. Hold it, back up.
Group of white spectators are trying to grab cameras. The Negro bus, the bus carrying the Negro students, has just been turned back from the high school. Various spectators in the crowd are trying to grab the cameras, wrench them to the ground. Are we rolling? Is he rolling?
Come on back. You don't take the camera. Watch it go, man. Watch it go. Come on. Where's he going? Watch it go.
No, I'll take it down in the car. I'd rather not say anything right this minute. I'd rather not say anything right now.
Are you a white resident of here?
No. No, sir.
Well, how did you happen to be on the bus?
I was making pictures on my...
Oh, you were taking pictures on the bus? And can you tell us what happened?
No, I'd rather not.
This is a tape test. This is a tape test en route to Notasulga. Paul Good making a tape test en route to Notasulga. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1.
on the mayor's arm, the right arm.
I'm going to ask you a general question first, saying that, well, I'm going to say that, Notasulga now has become a focus of national attention in this civil rights dilemma. How do you feel about it? Is that all right, or would you prefer not something general like that?
I don't see anything wrong with it.
All right. Just want to. Boy, those clouds are really in and out.
It's going to be in and out so much, we're just take the chance.
All right.
Okay, take it 3.
Mayor Ray, Notasulga has suddenly become the focal point of national attention in the civil rights dilemma. How do you feel about it?
Well, of course, we'd rather that it hadn't happened. We have a quiet town here. We live quiet lives, and certainly we are upset over the situation that has developed, and we certainly wish that it hadn't come about. But we don't know what we could have done about it to prevent it.
Now, when the school was closed down, it was closed down because fire regulations prohibited the entrance of any more students. Was it your intent to use this as a means of preventing Negroes from entering?
Certainly not. We had already, with the cooperation of the school officials, turned down 14, I believe it was 12 or 14, additional white students. We had taken some additional students in addition to our normal enrollment, and it had definitely overcrowded our building.
If these 6 students who were trying to enroll at the school were white, would they have gotten in?
Certainly not. They would not have gotten in.
Let's cut Steve and change it, Lynn, if we can. Okay. The fire last night in the Notasulga waterworks seemed of suspicious origin. What has your investigation proved?
Well, of course, our first thought under the circumstances was that it was probably set. And we immediately called on the state fire marshal's office and the state investigator's office, and they came up last night. Mr. Hall, the state fire marshal, who I've been told has some 27 years experience in fire investigation, and Chief Jones of the state investigators was there, plus another investigator. And their preliminary investigation revealed that the fire was probably caused by a short circuit in an electrical outlet in the ceiling.
An accidental cause?
Yes, it was accidental, according to the investigation. Now, the investigation is continuing, but we haven't found anything this morning that would indicate that it was set.
Cut again. Let me ask you that question again, Mayor, and this time without going into all the names of the people, just the the core of it, that it seemed it was a wire short circuit in that. All schools in the town have been closed down because of the fire at the waterworks. Do you think this fire was set deliberately?
Well, of course, our first thought upon being notified was that it could have been set, but our investigation with the assistance of the state fire marshal and the state investigators is that the fire was caused from a accidental short circuit in the light fixture in the ceiling. And we've known for some time that the wiring was bad, and a complete rewiring job is included in our program that we presently have under construction up there.
You feel right now this fire, which resulted in the school closing, was an accident?
In my opinion, yes, based on the report to me by the state fire marshal.
Cut. I'd like to ask you now, I want to tell you what this question is so it doesn't come out of left field. The general feeling of the town on segregation. Would the town, do you think, accept the presence of Negro students in this high school? Is that a fair question? Could you sum up? I don't mean you can't speak for everybody in the town, naturally. But as the mayor of the town, and you certainly know the representative.
Well, now you might ask this question: what I thought the parents would do if the niggers were admitted, whether or not they would allow their children to
All right,
continue.
fine.
But my answer is going to have to be that it is an individual decision that
All
each
right.
parent has to make. That,
But could you go on to say, do you think the majority would feel one way or the other?
I wouldn't say
No.
because I don't know. Frankly,
right.
I don't know what the parents are going to do.
All right, okay.
Paul, let's do it this way then. You ask the question, Mayor, don't answer it this first time here. Just, he'll ask it to you, you be looking at him like you're going to answer the thing.
And then you're going to cut?
Yeah, and then we'll ask the question again, and then that time you
Okay.
can answer on the thing.
You ready?
Look at it, Paul.
Yeah. Now?
Take it in 3.
Mayor, if the Negro youngsters do come into the high school here, what do you think will be the reaction of townspeople? Okay?
Okay, now go ahead and ask the same question.
Mayor, if the Negro youngsters do come into the high school, what do you think the reaction of the townspeople will be?
Well, frankly, I don't know. I've been asked the question if the white children will withdraw. And my answer has had to be that that is an individual decision that will have to be made by each individual parent. And being a bachelor, I don't have any children over there, so I can't even say what my decision would be. But I feel like that the parents will make the decision based on what they think is best for their children.
Do you think that the white youngsters in the high school would want to learn next to Negro youngsters?
I could not say. I just don't know.
Good. I want to ask you this question too. Now, I think this question has to be answered because of the publicity that came out yesterday. What happened on the bus with that photographer? Let me shut this off so I can. Now, it's claimed that a cameraman on board the bus that arrived at the high school yesterday was beaten by a town deputy. What's your reaction to that?
Well, my reaction is that that gentleman who was strictly unauthorized to be on that bus could have caused a very serious incident. We had taken elaborate precautions to avoid any trouble or any violence, and the fact that when that bus drove up there and he was on there, and when ordered to leave by officers, he refused, and then the struggle that ensued definitely could have caused a serious trouble. And I think we were very lucky that all that did result was some minor pushing and whatnot outside the bus. Now, a statement I read by the reporter who was on the bus that it had been reported that he was beaten. Now, the statement I saw this morning, I believe, stated that he was punched with a shock stick. And I saw one news report last night that he was hit with a blackjack, and I know for a fact that neither one of the officers that went on that bus had a blackjack.
Do you, in any event, condone violent acts in connection with the desegregation issue?
Certainly not. This is a battle that has got to be won. If it's going to be won at all, it's got to be won in the courts of our state and our country. Nothing can be gained by violence. I don't think anyone wins when there's violence, whether it concerns segregation or integration or anything else. I think that being an attorney and familiar with our courts, that eventually this problem will be worked out by our courts and by our Congress, which I think is a place where it should be worked out.
Mayor Ray, the town position is that this high school is overcrowded, that there's no more room for white or Negro students. What will your position be if the federal courts order you to allow the entry of these 6 Negroes?
Well, of course, I will obey the court order. I've not defied the court. I had no intention of defying the court. I've not been under any court order. But if I'm placed under a court order, I will certainly step aside and I'll turn it over to the courts. But I will not be responsible for the lives of any of those children over there in case of fire if they put any more in there. Because the situation being what it is, it would be impossible to get all those children out of there if we had a serious fire under 20-25 minutes. And when the elementary wing burned some years ago, in 25 minutes it was a fire all over.
If 6 white students applied for entry into the high school tomorrow, would they get in?
They would not. They would be denied. If the school officials did not deny them entry, I would deny them entry, just as I did yesterday. As I've stated previously, the race of the students, we had already turned down 12 to 14 white students, and we felt like that due to the factor that we are responsible for the safety of those children, that we were honor bound and duty bound to deny the entry yesterday.
Fine. I think that covers it very well. Is there any comment that you would like to make that we haven't covered? Is there anything that you would like to say?
No, I don't know of anything. I think I covered it pretty well.
All right. I think you articulated.
Now this is ABC.
That's right. Nice.